Alright, what's going on, guys? In this video today I'm going to show you how we took this backyard and we poured this concrete slab. It was about 400 square feet of concrete. Took us 2 days to do it, and this is how we did it. So the first day we always come out and we'll do all the forming and the grading and the layout. So first thing we do is we'll set concrete stakes and run string lines. Those string lines are parallel and perpendicular to the existing house. And then we'll set all of our form boards off of those strings, so it makes all the forms nice and straight. Here we were digging and we actually found their old clean out. Not their old clean out, their only clean out actually. It was buried and they didn't even know it was there. So we had them flush the toilet and we did confirm that it was their active clean out and sewer line. So we're gonna take that old clean out box and put a new one in, and we'll pour it flush to the concrete, so that way they can always access their clean out if there's ever a plumbing problem. Here we are hand grading everything. This wasn't a really big slab. You only had to cut like 1 to 2 inches of dirt out, so I didn't bring in any equipment, like a skid steer or nothing. We just did everything by hand. There was enough guys there anyway, so it was pretty easy work. It was a fun day actually. Here I am drilling into the existing slab, and then I'll hammer in some 1/2-inch rebar dowels. That'll just kind of help keep the new and the existing slab locked together. Here I got the laser level set up, and I got it set to where I want the top of the slab, and then so we'll just raise that form board until it's where I want it, and then we'll pin it so that it holds the form nice and perfectly level all around. Makes it pretty easy and hard to mess it up doing it this way. So it's nice and level all around perfectly. Here we are running a 20-inch plate tamp. I rent that from Home Depot actually. About $100 a day, well worth it. Just gets the ground nice and, we live in Arizona, so the ground's already very hard, but we run the tamp anyway. So we'll run the tamp, we'll wet it down, and we'll repeat several times. So you can see it's starting to look like a nice spot for some concrete to be poured. First thing, there's no reinforcement in this slab. This was just a patio slab. Nothing's going on top of it. I know a lot of guys put wire mesh and rebar in everything, but I'll be honest, in Arizona, the ground is so hard that there's really no settling of the grade, and once the concrete's there, it just sits there forever. So it's very common to pour a slab like this with no reinforcement. I had and it'll be just fine forever, I guarantee it. I had this concrete brought in at a 4.5-inch slump. It's a 3,000 psi mix. I added hot water to the mix so that way we wouldn't have to wait too long for the concrete to set up. We could screed it and then pretty much start finishing it immediately. If you look closely, there's a form board in the center of the slab, and that was just kind of a temporary board I set up so that we can screed off of. I actually set that 1 inch higher than the rest of the form, so that way there's like a crown in the center of the slab. So when it does rain, water will just run off the sides of the slab. You can see there was about 6 of us that day, so it went smooth. If your concrete is pretty heavy and tiring to move around, so if you don't have enough guys on site, you can wear yourself out pretty quick. We definitely had enough people on site. So we poured that temporary form board, and now we're just filling in the concrete on the other side. Just placing it in, screeding it. We'll go around and we'll kick the form boards with our boots to kind of vibrate those edges, so that way there's no honeycomb on the edges. Yeah, not much to say here. Just putting the concrete down. Here on the right side of the screen, you'll see I come in with the bull float. So that's a 48-inch magnesium bull float, and we'll run that several passes and just flatten out the whole slab. Basically fill all the voids, and That's the first step after you screed it. You run a bull float. Well, you should. It's the easiest thing to do. I'll usually run a couple passes on the bull float, meaning like I'll bull float it once and then I'll wait about 10 minutes and then we'll bull float it again. Now again, this slab was poured at a 4.5 inch slump, so it was pretty dry and it was ready to almost start being worked. So here you see it's already cutting in the edges. Not fully cutting them in, but just kind of shaping them, you know. Here I pull out the bull float again, and this is my second and final pass with that bull float, and then I'll put it away. But you can see it, concrete's looking pretty nice already. The next step's probably going to be us cutting the joints. So we'll get a string line here in a bit, I'd say, and we'll snap the joints for the concrete right there. So that's what we're doing now. So we'll snap the joints, and then we'll get a pole jointer and we'll cut our joints in. This slab had a lot of joints because there was a lot of corners. You always want to, concrete has a tendency to crack at corners. So anytime there's a corner in concrete, you always want to run joints. You'll see we put some concrete stakes in the corner right there. I don't know if you caught that, but that's to help alleviate the cracking. Here we have Renan cutting the joints. That's a 12 by 12 pole jointer. It's a 1/2 inch radius with, I think it's a 1 inch deep jointer. Now this guy Renan, brought him in today as a concrete finisher. So he doesn't always work with us, but he's really good at concrete. So brought him in today and he helped us finish the slab. You'll actually see he pretty much does everything else after this point. I mean, we all helped place the concrete down, you know, screed it and move it from the concrete truck into position. But from here on, Renan pretty much finished the entire slab. And he did a really good job at it. He's really good at concrete. So just kind of cutting these joints in by hand. We'll do 2 passes with the jointer. So now he'll come in. He's got what some people call a funny float. It's basically a really loose steel trowel on a pole. And he'll just kind of knock out those lines that were created from the jointing. And that's what he's doing here. Those are really hard, those pole funny floats. I suck at those. I always dig into the concrete. So here we are, just kind of working what we can reach. We're using magnesium floats right now, hand mags. Now he's cutting the joints in for the second time, and this is the last time we'll use that jointer, and then we'll do everything else by hand. So it comes in again with that funny float and knocks out the lines and smooths it. And essentially what we're doing here is we're just making it smoother and smoother as it dries. You know, you don't want to fixate on one spot in particular. You just kind of want to keep working around as the concrete dries more and more and more and keep making it nicer and nicer. So now the concrete was dry enough that Renan got out there on the skids and he just circles around the entire slab and trowels it. He's got all steel trowels now. I know guys up north where it freezes, they don't use steel trowels on exterior concrete. Here in Arizona, it snows probably once every few years. Doesn't really freeze here much, so it's very common to use steel trowels. I mean, really, that's all we use when we finish concrete is steel trowels. But I know we'll probably get some people in the comments saying that you're not supposed to do that, but different areas of the country require different things, you know. So again, just gonna keep sliding around this slab, and so Renan will get all the centers, and we'll kind of occasionally come in and help out on the edges. He uses the squared end steel trowels. I kind of personally I like the rounded trowels, but to each their own. You can see that clean out hole is looking really nice. So I mean, picture the lid of that clean out is going to sit right on top of there nice. So fast forward now, we're brooming it. Now this concrete was pretty dry. This was like 4 hours after we poured it or so, and so we're doing a pretty light broom, and that's why it's being broomed so much, because the concrete was pretty dry. So this was a really nice finish. Here's the next day. Actually, it was a few days later. Came back and stripped the forms. Pulled all the concrete stakes out, knocked the forms loose, and then backfilled around it, and then rinsed off the slab, and that's it. On to the next one. And that's the process. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know if you got any questions or if you want to see more videos like this. Just give me some feedback. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one. Bye.